Welcome, guys, to a fresh new episode of the Real Football Talk. I'm your host, Hassan. I have Shuvia and Adil with me. We'll be talking about the thriller at the London Stadium, 3-3 West Ham versus Arsenal. Adil, what was your take on the fantastic start from West Ham and the brilliant goal of Jesse Lingard?
Yeah, really strong start from West Ham. I thought they dominated that first 15 minutes, and it was quite obvious they were targeting Chambers than that side. And great finish, good goal. They worked it well, and everything good about West Ham's performance was in that first half hour, really. Excellent start, and the way. The thing is, before the goal, you can see it coming. You can see the goal was going to come and the attack was coming down West Ham's
left-hand side
because they were overloading it. They're overloaded. So sometimes Antonio was going out there, Ben Rama was there, and then you got Cresswell also joining in, and then Lingard. So they were really isolating Chambers, and Chambers didn't know what to do. So what he started to do, he started to press Ben Rama and leave the gaps where Antonio was rotating in behind, or Lingard was rotating in behind. So the one time, one of the times Antonio does it, they get exposed with the overload and the cutback for Lingard's great finish.
I mean, what was the mistake? Is it just as simple that him pressing Ben Rama at the wrong time? Was it just only that, or was it also David Luiz coming out a bit?
It's the failure of the Arsenal team to react to the first 10 minutes, because all the attacks was happening, the same move was happening, and Partey was effective playing as a right back for good few of those West Ham's attack. Chambers was so out of the picture. It was Partey that was on the right back position, picking up Lingard or picking up Ben Rama. So you could straight away tell that Arsenal's setup just ain't right here. Even at that time, Saka wasn't dropping back enough to help out. And what compounded it was then when they changed Saka for Aubameyang, it got worse, because Aubameyang didn't even help out one bit. So Cresswell had a free rein, just joining in a bit more. At least when Saka was on that side, he was keeping Cresswell semi-honest. But the moment they switched Aubameyang and Saka, it got really exposed. The fact that from suddenly having 4-on-2 on that side, it's become 4-on-1. And what happened? Partey just stopped going across and covering that spot. You get it? It got too much for him maybe, but he decided to stay central. And that's how they got exposed. They just had too many rotations on the right, on Arsenal's right-hand side of the pitch.
In terms of the next goal, Shavia, how naive was that from Partey, Kieran Tierney, all of them really? And how poor was it from the goalkeeper? I mean, fair play to West Ham with regards to the quick thought of play and the awareness from Jared Bowen and Jesse Lingard. But how poor was it from them?
It was really poor from Arsenal. They lacked concentration at that moment in time. But similar to what Adil was saying earlier on, during that first half, Arsenal really struggled with pressing from the front. West Ham pushed their fullbacks up really high, and I thought that caused you guys a lot of issues. That's what started the overlaps on that right-hand side, and Chambers took a while, to get into the game. Because obviously towards the end of the game, I think they gave him man of the match, didn't they? So the last half an hour, he did improve, and his balls that he was putting in was, much better, more effective. But to your question, I just think it was a lack of concentration. And Bird Leno, I don't know what he was doing. He looked like he was going to do the squats or something. He should have saved that. That's that shot didn't even have that much power in it. So again, I think that's due to concentration. There was a lot of players, like you said, you could have faulted. But all in all, West Ham, it was a bit of good play, a bit of clever play by them, but no excuses for Bird Leno. He should be saving that, regardless of, Tierney making the mistake or Partey making the mistake. Bird Leno has to save that.
What I'm saying is we play Sunday League. We know when there's a free kick or something happens, you stand on the ball or you do something to affect it.
Restarts are the most, one of the most important aspects of the game, isn't it? So there's, a lot of counter attacks or a lot of quick breaks happen from throw-ins, free kicks, and corners. And especially in the Premier League, teams shouldn't be really lapsing in concentration. I just find that abysmal.
I mean, it seems like there's no leadership.
The problem more with Arsenal for that goal was they had 3-4 players more interested in arguing with the referee about the foul. It's a clear foul. I mean, it doesn't matter if Antonio was playing for it. I mean, whether a player plays for it or not, you dangle your foot in and make a connection, a touch with another player, they're gonna fall down. So why waste your time arguing with the ref about it? They had more players interested in arguing with the ref, which I will keep saying it's a big problem of Arsenal's. They look to get an advantage to the ref way too much.
But that's a mental issue, isn't it? That's a mentality problem.
It's an issue, but it's cost them a goal now. And the fact that also the whole start of the game was very haphazard. So they just weren't concentrated, they just weren't focused. It's as if even in the build up to the game, you're hearing what Saka's saying and a lot of the players are saying before the game. There's just way too much overconfidence from Arsenal, and it's like you just won 2 games on the spin.
But where is the overconfidence?
Don't get carried away.
Yeah, like you said, 2 games in the trot. Surely that's not enough to get the players to a level where they're that overconfident.
If you look at the whole season, it's been a bit like that with Arsenal, where they win a couple of games and they do it quite convincing. They look quite good in those games, and then suddenly you hear the reports, the pundits is ridiculous. And whenever Arsenal wins, suddenly everyone goes on like the world beaters. Suddenly Arteta is a genius of a manager. And the league doesn't lie. And the inconsistencies in the team don't lie. A lot of the problems of Arsenal are also Arteta's making.
But
so
on that,
the good and the bad.
What the inconsistency it keeps coming up with Arsenal. Why is that happening, and what's the solution to this? Because
I think it's overconfidence. I think whenever they win a few games, they just get too overconfident. You see, even in Arteta,
wouldn't you say that stems from Arteta? Would you say Arteta's a bit arrogant? Arteta is a bit arrogant. I would say, yeah, like you just said, they win 2-3 games and they become overconfident. But this has been Arsenal much of, for the last 5, 6, 7 years, even without Arteta. When they win, don't get me wrong, some of the games they win and they win convincingly and they look very good, when they're winning. But you got to maintain that and you got to carry that on. And they fail to do that all the time. And I think today, Hassan, going back to your first question to me actually as well, that first 20 minutes, what West Ham did to you guys, I think you lost one already. That second goal was a part of that. I think there was a lot of panic, and there was no leaders. At that time, you need people just to take control of that game. And I don't think you had any of those type of characters.
I mean, it seemed like until the third goal went in, they were still asleep.
I think they were asleep the whole game. The first goal is what brought the belief back in Arsenal.
It was just ridiculous.
Lacazette's goal, fair play to Lacazette. The touch, the swivel, finish. I think it was a deflection, but
it went down as a own goal.
Yeah. So, but nevertheless, the strike, the whole, posture for the shot, everything was really good. And yeah, I think it was a bit of that. If you didn't get that first goal, would you have done that 3-3 comeback? I don't think so. I think that gave you the confidence. And again, West Ham last.
What changed? What changed the game in your perspective?
What I said last time, if you remember when we spoke about West Ham, it's West Ham's game management. They couldn't adapt to anything Arsenal were doing that second half, and it was pretty much all Arsenal. Arsenal was overlapping on that right. They had Saka, they had Chambers, whipping the balls in, and they just couldn't deal with that. I don't know what they were doing. Maybe at that time they needed to change a bit of personnel. You're winning, 3-1, 3-2. Bring in a bit more defensive-minded players, like you started against, United your last game, but they kept their dribblers and certain players on like that. And I don't know. It was a mishap, and both teams, I think, were lucky to get 3-3. Could have gone either way. Even towards the last 15, 20 minutes, West Ham had their opportunities as well, and they could have nicked it. So I think a point is fair for both teams.
Sorry, Adi, you were going to say something on that.
No, I just think if it wasn't for that first goal, the first goal is what gave Arsenal belief. Suddenly they started to play front foot. Suddenly, the last 10 minutes, if you look at the amount of tackles they were putting in on Souček, on everyone, suddenly they were flying in. Every single one of them flying in, slide tackles everywhere, getting their jersey dirty. At one point, I think Souček had to tackle like 3 guys in a row. And that's only happened after the goal. It didn't happen after they went 3-0 down. It happened after the goal. So I think the goal is what gave them their belief and their confidence back. That we're a good team. We can attack. We can expose this team. It's what Arsenal do. They start slow. Most games.
It seems like a trend, especially after coming from Europe. Really, it seems to keep happening to them, where they come back from a Europa League game and they're just asleep every single time. Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah. No.
Aduba, just to that quickly. So obviously, having managed, Sunday League for many years, even myself and for you as well. Arteta's team talk halftime. Do you think that first goal was the team talk, or do you think he would have, what do you think he would have done to have got them out?
I think he just made his adjustments. You can see the adjustments they made. They did make it actually for that first goal they scored, where what happened was they overloaded the central. They noticed how narrow West Ham were, and what they overloaded the central zone. So what happened was they had so many players in the 10 positions, they had so many options that West Ham didn't know whether to go in tight or drop off. And they basically done what Man City did against West Ham and what Tottenham did in the second half against West Ham, which is the main thing is you got to split Declan Rice and Souček because they are so good at defensive mid. They're so good at blocking the threats on one side of the pitch. But as soon as you have a dual threat or put players outside of them, they struggle. It messes up the whole West Ham defensive system because ultimately they end up pushing the fullbacks too narrow. So that's what's happened. You got Saka playing as a 10. You got Lacazette coming in as a false 9. You got Uber suddenly coming in as a 10. You got Odegaard playing in behind as well. So you got 4 guys really close, compact together, and Declan Rice and Souček don't know who to pick up because there's 4 guys and the centre backs aren't pushing in tight anymore. So that's what actually created the space for Chambers to overlap and be free. And even if they wanted to go down the other side, Tierney was free the whole second half for crosses too. Is because by bringing everyone into the 10 positions, they made West Ham's fullback go in so narrow, and the midfielders didn't know what to do, whether to press the party or the centre backs or to pick up the men who are standing all behind them.
So were we in? So yeah, I agree with yes. So would we say we were in agreement with the fact that he brought in Chambers for the height? Because obviously Chambers got exposed that first half, and second half I thought he did well. The balls he was whipping in, and I think he got one of the assists as well.
He's got 2 of the
assists. All the assists technically.
2 of the assists, Hassan.
2 assists.
2 assists.
From him, 1 for Pepe.
West Ham, they went into such a retreat mode that they played into Arsenal's hand. I mean, tactically, Moyes, like Shavir said, just makes some poor and strange decisions. I mean, last game he played 5 against United, and it's like today he was afraid to go to a 5 at the back, even though everything was coming down Chambers. They're overloading down that side. Constantly. I mean, other than the 3 goals that he created, he had other crosses that they had cleared away, and he does nothing to counteract that.
I think that's the pressure of the Premier League in terms of, I'm not sure how much these managers all listen to punditry and social media, but it seems like it must have an effect because how they played against Man United to how they played against Arsenal was a complete day and night difference. Against Man United, it was just like they were scared to attack, and that's understandable because of the threat we have in terms of countering a team. But against Arsenal, it seemed as if, all right, we got the 3-0 lead. Surely you're able to defend the 3-0 lead. You've got quality defensive players. Declan Rice isn't bad. Souček isn't bad. And they've got good defenders like Cresswell and all them players. They're not bad players.
Do you think they choked? Do you think as a team they choked?
Definitely a part of them. Yeah, 100%. You can't start at 3-0. And, like I said, goal, okay, it's done, 3-1. But even at 3-1, the complexion of the game hasn't changed. There isn't much that's changed. You're still comfortable. You're still winning. They just, like Adubai said, they allowed Arsenal to come back into the game. And maybe it was a bit of tactical, I wouldn't call it genius, but, a good decision by Arteta in terms of to overload that midfield areas with the 10s and put literally 2 men on Declan Rice and put 2 men on Souček, making it very difficult for Souček to even create runs from from deep. Sorry,
Ade, you seem to disagree with something.
No. I just think it's Moyes' problem is, and this is what they did recently in another game. I can't remember, it was against against Liverpool, where they play the second half. They played this fast-paced game, and they're playing too fast for anyone around them. And the thing is, counter-attack is excellent when players are getting into the box, when players are supporting the attack. But when you do counter-attack with 2 or 3 players only, it's very rare you're going to actually finish off the chances. And the only reason they had 2 really good chances and it didn't work off is because Arsenal was so overcommitted. They were leaving just 2 against 3. They're leaving just 2 men back. That's the only reason. But if Arsenal didn't go so gun-ho, that tactic of playing that quick and that fast, you're not going to create goals like that. And I felt second half they did the exact same thing they did against Liverpool. A few months back, where they're leading and then they choke by playing too fast, by playing a brand of football. It's impossible to create a base. And if you look at the goals they scored, they created it by playing football, keeping the ball, and outnumbering Arsenal. And the thing with Arsenal is, they got, even their defenders want to get involved in the attack. Everywhere, they got 11 playmakers on that pitch. No one really wants to defend in that team. Everyone wants to be part of the attack. So they're all itching to get involved in the attack. And when it comes to running back, they're not going to run back much. And that's why, West Ham were able to get a 3-0 lead. So why not play on the characteristics of the team and keep that ball? Do I got you the goals instead of playing this extra fast, direct counter-attacking game?
I mean,
they lost complete control of the game.
What surprised me is they didn't look at any point to kind of break the game down, slow the tempo a bit, and really kind of make it a bit more dogged, really. And then maybe use the tactics they have of countering. Then they can counter, because you're going to have those opportunities, because the ball will be hoofing about. Then you can...
Is this Arsenal, Hassan, we're talking about, or West Ham?
In terms of West Ham. So, I mean, what does this mean for Arsenal? What does it mean for West Ham? Because obviously Arsenal still remain where they are with regards to, I mean, I think personally their hopes of Europe is gone, as in Europa League. What's your view on that, Shavia?
So what, in terms of for Arsenal, you think their hope for Europa League is gone? You know what it is? We've still got, I think, a good 10 games left. 9 games left.
9, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot can happen in those 9 games. A lot of teams above Arsenal are still in certain competitions, so it's still going to be tough. I wouldn't rule anything out at the moment. For Arsenal, definitely, all it takes is a good run of 6-7 wins. At the 9, if you win 6-7 games, you're still probably in contention for that top 6 spot. Like I said, purely because of some of the teams above are still in other competitions, and fatigue taking in all that towards the end, all that does kick in. So I wouldn't rule him out. I wouldn't rule him out as of yet. I still think that there's hope. And in terms for West Ham, I just feel as if that 6 points dropped. They could have got 3 points against Man United, and they could have got 3 points today against Arsenal easily. And they choked. And like I said before, I think David Moyes has got a set of 11 players that are good for him, but just tactically and just everything, he can't adapt to a game. I find it really frustrating. He just can't adapt to games. He's very one-dimensional, and he couldn't, because Arsenal didn't do anything great, as they might have overlapped the middle, but it was still a panic performance. What they did, like Adubai said, in other terms, is suicidal, leaving it 3-on-2. But that's because they knew, like, West Ham ain't going to cause them any issues of that sort, because how panicked West Ham were. So both teams were in panic. Even at 3-2, both teams were panicking. Arsenal got to 3-3, and they were just pushing numbers forward out of excitement. Yeah, let's get this 4-3. And West Ham just had a little bit of composure about themselves. They could have punished them. They could have easily got that win. Even at 3-3, still you could have bet money on West Ham winning. But with David Moyes in charge, I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't think Arsenal were in panic in that second half. They over-attacked, but that was part of the plan. They weren't doing it as a panic. That was their way back into the game. If they didn't do that, they wouldn't have.
But it was, that's perfectly fine. But in terms, no. So they gamble, yeah. So to say the least,
they played with risk. They weren't panicking at any time with it, because that's part of the tactic. I mean, if they didn't play with risk, Chambers wouldn't have got them 3 assists. They had to. They went for it. I do have to commend that.
Two assists.
To commend the changes. Sorry?
Two assists.
Yeah, but he might as well call the first goal his assist. I mean, it was his cross. Forget the own goal about it, That without him picking out Lingard, it's not. You get it?
The third assist was from Pepe. That's why.
Which one?
That's why I'm saying you can call it 2 assists.
Okay.
The third assist is from Pepe.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. But again, it's the same move down the right side. Everything's happening down that right side. So I still think West Ham choked because there's no flexibility in Moyes' approach. He protects the central zone way too much, and ultimately they weren't pressing, and they weren't even dropping. They're dropping deep, but they weren't even covering any players. What's the point of bringing on Noble and going to 3-man midfield, and then you go get Fredericks in, you go to 4-man midfield? He compensated the left-hand side when Arsenal weren't even attacking down that side. All the attacks was happening down the right-hand side, and he didn't look to shore up that side. So everything he did is strange. Previous games he would have brought Johnson on that left side, and that would have made shore up. I just think Moyes was just trying to be too cute and got caught out today.
There's a difference in his attacking. There's a difference in his attacking players as well. I wonder why he said to them at half time, really, because Antonio didn't look the same. Lingard was coming in deeper. He held higher positions in the first half than he did in the second half. Maybe because of how Arsenal were overloading with the players due to that.
It was because of direct play. There's no other reason. There was no build-up for West Ham because Arsenal were pressing high. They had to clear it, so they couldn't build it up to get the ball to Lingard up the field. He had to make do with reading the clearances and getting on the end of clearances. So it was just poor. It was just really poor.
Well, fascinating game at the London Stadium, really. Thank you both for coming on and giving your views. And see you soon, guys. Thank you.